Welcome to the Fantasy Grimoire podcast. And today we have Vanessa Medina. You might know her though as VXO. Thank you for joining.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So excited.
It has taken us so many tries to get this episode right
Forever.
because
For
I swear,
yes.
scheduling conflicts and I'm grateful to finally
Between
have you.
between things that I had on my calendar, on your calendar, uh,
It's been wild.
mess up with like internet or I don't even know, but we're here. We're
But
finally here.
I do have to ask you, at the time of recording this episode, we were all following along I almost want to say your relationship with Tony. We love
Hmm.
Tony. Tony is a massive green flag.
It is awesome. Yes.
Yeah, he has a fan base on Bookstagram. What can I say?
He really does it. He likes it. Tony is an Aquarius. He
Um,
likes all that attention. So yeah.
so seeing you guys get to the altar and have your dream day, and we all know the wedding planning is stressful, but once you have that over, you know that newlywed status. How are
Yeah.
things going with you guys as newlyweds?
We're doing really great. We have plans for a new home next year. We have plans for a podcast together. We have plans for content together. I kind of gave little hints in my stories, but I have to kind of rein him in a little bit because he wants to be, the Denzel or the, you know what I mean? Like I have to like, okay, you got to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was awesome. We had a great wedding. Great wedding. It was everything that I wanted and saw.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't the type to say I want to get married someday, but when I saw it all come to fruition, it was exactly what we wanted. So, and I had friends there, family. It was great. It was really great.
You know what?
Hmm.
Following your journey for so long and just hearing that, I don't
Yeah.
know, it just makes me really happy
I
to
remember
get.
sharing it. I remember sharing it like when I was starting to like kind of go out with people, when I started to just put myself out there
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, he kind of seems real,
yeah.
because you find all these frogs, right? And no, definitely. It's been we're on our 5th year now. So it seems like it was yesterday when we were first going out for like a picnic in the park. So yeah.
It's so funny that you say that though about the frogs because my husband is not my normal type at all. Okay,
Really?
and it was not a love at first sight scenario. Let me just part.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and it was kind of like we became accidental friends, and like
Okay.
we were still dating other people, and we were like telling each other about it. So like
Yeah,
it
but that's
wasn't
awesome.
conventional, yeah. And then the one day we just went out for catch up drinks, and then he made a move on me, and I'm like, I'm confused. What is
What do I do?
happening?
What? Yeah.
And 14 years later, here
That's
we are.
amazing.
So
That's
it's
amazing.
always the unexpected relationships that kind
Really,
of
truly.
hit you out of nowhere. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
before this, my longest relationship was 5 months.
Uh, well, and then you found like your forever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's awesome. Yeah,
So
no, I think that we find people when they're right for your time.
yeah,
You go through different stages in your life, and I focused on my kid, focused on my bookstagram, focused on my just myself in order to be able to give myself to another person and not as a whole because we're a team.
yeah,
So Tony's really, really supportive with everything I do, with every plan that I sit down. And even though he does not understand algorithm, insights, or how I'm mad at, this reel not going well, he'll just sit there and he's like, you got this. It's really amazing to find a person that I can actually sit down and set a goal. And even though I'm probably leading the goal because I understand it better, he's right there rooting for me. So yeah, I have a great husband.
we love Tony. We do. That's actually a perfect segue into. I want to chat about where did you get your start with your bookish account? Because I mean, 35K followers. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
Might say so.
it's been hard. I'm sure
And
everyone's pissed off at the ALGO. I've been a reader for God, I don't know, for all my life. Ever since like primary school. I remember getting those little Berenstein Bears books. And my kid's sister, one day came to me and she said, there's this place where, on Instagram, people use this hashtag for books. And I'm like, what do you mean? And, I went in there and I went down a rabbit hole, and I was like, oh my God, I can share what I'm reading and make other friends because I didn't have any friends. I know that this happens to a lot of people. We don't have friends that read. We don't have a book club close by. So we count on those people online that have become our friends because we share not only interest in books, but also other things. So I started to just post. I started to share what I was reading. And little by little, I started to, I always say this, if you want to join the community and if you want to make friends, you just need to be kind. Like, just be friendly. Just because you have 35, 50K, 70K, it doesn't mean that you can't have a conversation with a person that has 100 followers. And that's something that I hear. And it surprised me. I had like this shock one day when this person replied to something about, I was planning my wedding, and this person replied to me and she was like, oh my God, I love that, blah, 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 something. And I went into a conversation with this person and she's like, you answered me. I'm like, what do you mean I answered you? She's like, yeah, other people don't answer. So that's one thing that I always tell everyone. If you want to build a genuine relationship, be kind. There's nothing wrong with saying hello, or talking about, I don't know, a lip gloss,
Yeah.
something like that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
We've discussed this on the podcast in various ways, but it's about that authenticity.
Yes.
And I know that when I reached out to Aileen Aaron,
Mhm.
I was like, there's no way she's going to look at my message. And I was like,
Yeah.
do you want to come on the podcast? And she was like, sure. And I was like, wait, what? She
Wait,
said
Aileen?
yes. Aileen Aaron, yeah.
Oh, I just talked to her on the phone yesterday.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I was just like, wait, this, and to me, she is
She's
a big time
awesome.
author, and I was like, she said yes to this
She's so
little
sweet.
me,
No, she's the sweetest person, down to earth, super. Oh my God. Had an
and
amazing conversation with her. Yeah.
and she really practices what you're saying there about that
Mhm.
kindness and that
Yep.
humility and that authenticity,
Yep.
where it's actually now kind of encouraged me to reach out to some other big time authors because I
Yeah,
was
do
like,
it.
what's the
That's
least they
another
can
thing.
say?
That is another thing. Don't be afraid. Okay, I was the type that would not get into on a camera. I always tell everyone I don't like to be the center of attention. But I'm not afraid to speak up when I have to. I don't know if that makes sense. It's kind of like, but don't be afraid to get the best way for you to practice putting yourself out there is going on your stories. And I know you started doing it and I saw it. I was like, yes, she's doing it. And then when you invited me to your podcast, I was like, perfect, let's do this together. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm so excited for you for this too.
Follow-up question though, because
Yeah.
you're not just a Bookstagram account,
No.
you also have bookish services. And I know
Yes.
you and I have spoken in the past about eventually going into the PA kind of domain, but
Hmm.
do you want
Yeah.
to tell us a little bit about that and how it evolved into that?
Yeah. When I first started my Bookstagram, I went in and, did that, joining ARC teams, trying to get myself known, trying to know people and how it worked. Cause what the heck is an ARC, right? When you start up, and little by little, I started to see that my content was not only liked because it was pretty, but it was also liked because it was genuine. And I tried to put my whole into it, you know what I mean? So me having experience in administration, God, I don't know, for over 15 years, I've been in corporate. I was like, why don't I take that, being executive assistant to VPs and senior VPs? And, I'm like, why don't I take that and help, authors that need assistance with their social media management or their content creation, or hey, how do I build a palette for the colors on my feed? Or I don't know, an art team sign up or a newsletter. So I, little by little, I started to share it. But the way that I initiated was by myself, and then came together with good friends, and we built that Tour Gals together. And that's how I met you.
That is
That's how
true.
I met you. So, and then as I saw that, our promotions were doing really good and we were getting this, our name out there and people love our services, stuff like that. I'm like, okay, but that's only for content creation. I want to help people with their organizations because you don't have time. I can do it for you. So that's how I started to slowly build, as you said, the PA services, my content creation services. I was really scared to put myself out there in the beginning. Like I said, I was like, oh my God, what if people think like I'm just, over here trying to bamboozle, I'm like, no, I have good testimonials. I have all this stuff. And one of my very good friends, Jordan, old enough for fairy tales, I got to shout her out. She was at my wedding. Um, she was like, no, you have to stop it and you got to put yourself out there like right away because people will love working with you.
Like
And
one of the things that I truly love about the Bookstagram community is, sure, you get your mean girls, and that's anyway, that's not specific to the Bookstagram
that's
community.
everywhere at
Yeah,
work, in high school,
but
at a store.
but
So,
for the most part, I feel like we truly rally behind each other and we
oh
support
yeah,
each other and we have each
yeah.
other's backs.
Hmm.
I know I was struggling with something also related the other day. One of my older
Hmm.
friends, she was like, I got you. She's like, give me 10 minutes. I need to speak to someone. And then she connected me with this completely random person. We don't know each other, but we know this author friend. Solved
Right.
my problem within 15 minutes. And that's exactly how
I
I feel like we
love
show
that.
up for each other.
I love that. I love that. I have to honestly say that some of my closest friends are on Bookstagram. I'm sure you've heard of the Karis sisters. They used to
Yes,
be C. Karis and
yes.
Karis. Now I forgot their name because they just changed it.
I just know
But
it is Maria and Kiara.
I know it's Maria Chiara. It's Maria and
Yeah.
Chiara, and they're one of my greatest friends, and we'll FaceTime just to talk about indie, their pup, things like that. These three girls, they've been there from like I don't even know when. Tata Life Pages. I know her since we started our accounts together, and I am so amazed and proud of everything that she's accomplished. I always tell everyone I'm not here to compete with anybody other than myself. I
Same.
am not here to outshine anyone. If I have to be in the background holding up your sign, I will hold up your sign. I don't need that because the way that, and I teach this to my daughter, the way that you grow is by always paying attention to what you do, how you feel, and how you make other people feel. you know. So kindness, I always say that, be kind. And that correlates with what you just said. That was so kind of that author to do
Yeah.
that, your author friend. So I love that. I love that.
Follow up a different author friend this time. So we kind of, I wouldn't say compete is the right word, but we are in the same genre, right? And it's
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah,
dark
yeah.
urban fantasy. So
Hmm.
we can have a lot of discussions that I maybe couldn't have with a romantasy author because the
Right.
context is just different.
Right.
And
Completely. Yeah.
and she saw a lot of success in something. Granted, her context is a little bit different because she has a presence in the States where I don't. So she has access to things that I
Okay.
won't have access to. And we had a very real conversation about jealousy in this space because we do the comparison, we're jealous, we see an author go viral, and I said to her, I was like, to this friend,
But that's
but
human,
exactly, I said to her,
you
sure,
know?
there is a tiny part of me that is jealous in the sense of I want that success as well. But
Right.
I love you. Seeing you
Yeah.
succeed makes me happy. And I know that my time will come because
Yeah.
we're not competing with each other. There's enough space for
Mm-mm.
us both. And I love that you brought that up first.
No, and the thing is that like a lot of people don't know how to differ one from the other,
Yeah,
and that's really important. The fact that you said, "Okay, I'm here rooting for you, but damn, I wish I had the same
yeah,
thing." That
yeah,
I don't think that there's anything wrong with that
yeah,
because we aspire for more. At least I do.
yeah.
I aspire for more. I will put it out there. I'm very competitive. Tony and I are so competitive with each other when we play board games. It gets real. And these are some things that I've spoken to like with friends and in chats. I'm like, yeah, I'm competitive and I aspire for more, but I will never say, oh damn, she did better than me. Ugh. No, that's not for me.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
I do want to turn the conversation a little bit to your account on Bookstagram, where one of your, let's call it your first loves, is the romanticy space.
Yes.
And I know there's a hot debate. Some people get very
Yeah.
upset about, is romanticy different from romantic fantasy? Some people don't care. So my question for you is, which category do you fall into? Why?
Okay. I, as a young reader, I
Yeah.
always read fantasy a lot.
Okay.
But as I grew older, I noticed that I started to steer more into so my fantasy needs to have romance, is
Mhm.
basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay? Whether it's heavy or it's light, it doesn't matter. There
Yeah.
needs to be some guy kind of swooning for a girl, or one way or the other, or two girl, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
right? I just like the aspect of having that love, that relationship, that, oh my God, I yearn for you, or whatever it is. I think, I don't know. I feel like I steer more into romantasy, but that doesn't mean that I won't read a fantasy book, you
Yeah.
know? I
Yeah.
still love fantasy. Fantasy is fantasy.
So what I'm hearing is that you're not super technical in terms of like you have to follow this definition or this description. As long as
No,
I've got romance in my fantasy book in whatever
as long
shape or
as I got
form,
romance,
tick, I'm happy.
we're good, you know? And that's one of the things that a lot of people, you know how there's that debate, like, what is romantasy different to fantasy?
Yes.
I truly, I do agree.
Yeah.
Romantasy has a different, in my opinion. I
Yeah.
think it's very subjective.
Yeah.
So I may be wrong to other
Yeah.
people, but I feel like romantasy is very, very heavy, and it's led by that romance, whereas fantasy is more led to whatever battle or whatever they're trying to accomplish, chosen one, whatever trope you want to think about,
Yeah.
you know? So, but yeah, I feel like romantasy has done it for me in the past few years, so I lean towards it.
In terms of it's subjective, because for
Hmm.
me, if I look at myself from a reader perspective, I'm
Hmm.
a, I was going to say a blanket fantasy reader. I don't discriminate. Give me any genre as long as
Yeah.
the vibes, like bring me the vibes. I don't
Yeah.
care if the vibes is a horror, gothic. I don't care if it's
Oh,
epic,
I love
whatever.
gothic, like gothic. Oh my God,
I'm
they're
loving
so
the
good.
gothic era.
Ugh,
I like
I love them.
I know they were
Oh,
saying with Anathema that you need a degree to understand that world building, and I was like, I think it's pretty clear. I
but do
don't
you
know.
really? I don't know. I guess maybe
Yeah,
depending on what the context is. I guess I don't know.
I was just like, you're coming into an epic fantasy. What did you expect? She has to create a whole new world, so it's not going to be like here's one sentence and
That
here's the world
intimidates
building.
me. Like Sanderson's books, girl. That
That was
intimidates me
my issue.
so much. I have not picked up his books, and I had them on my shelf for many years.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
it's
something I have to venture into soon.
I have to as well. I was actually talking to a previous guest about this. I'm not sure if you've seen her book around Gretchen Powell Fox, Smoke and Scar, Romantasy. Uh,
Okay.
and we were talking about the difference between epic fantasy world building, because that's where she's gone.
Okay. Okay.
Where I was like, I write urban, I have the real world to work with, so I don't have to world build half as badly as you do, where
Hmm.
you have to create an entire new ecosystem.
An
Where
entire world.
I'm like, I can pick Amsterdam because everyone knows Amsterdam. I can just tweak this thing here, this thing there, and there's my urban
Yeah.
fantasy setting. So
Right. Right.
I think epic
That's
fantasy.
interesting. Yeah.
I think epic
Especially for
fantasy is
those
hard.
authors
Yeah.
that, especially for those authors that make up a whole language. I'm like, what? Like, just by that, you have to get some type of stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would never. I don't think I can.
You know what? I am happier reading those books than creating them.
Creating them,
Let's
I'm
just
sure
saying
it's
that.
stressful. I see it like as, the authors that I PA for,
Yeah.
I see it like when they tell me, oh my God, I'm still in edits, I'm still doing this, I'm still doing that, trying to get character art, trying to get their vision so we can see it and it can translate the way that they want to send it out, right? I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it. It's so admirable to me.
I will tell you, once you find the right, I almost want to say your team that helps you write. So I'm talking about your editor, your artist,
Yeah,
your
yeah,
cover
yeah. You're
designer.
everyone, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I promise you, you don't let go of him. My editor, I have basically compared it to a marriage because it's like, girl, you ain't going anywhere. I have enough books to keep you busy for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future.
Right, right, right.
And we speak about this on her episode. The way she gives feedback, like it's an art form. Not everyone can give it well. Not everyone,
Yeah.
I almost want to say, has the emotional intelligence to read the room and adjust the style
Mm-hmm.
accordingly to the
Yep.
situation. My cover designer, they saw my vision. It took us the first cover, it took us 3 rounds to get it right. Not because they got it wrong the first time, but because I never
Okay.
told them something. So like that was on
Okay, okay,
me.
okay. Yeah.
The second cover in the series, they got it right the first time. Because like they understood me by that stage. So it's kind of like once you find your people, you hold on to them because
Right.
you can kind of just have one conversation and they're like, I got
Be
you.
like,
I know
okay, this
exactly
is what
what
you
you
did
want.
wrong. This is what you need to
Yeah.
fix. And you don't get your feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
When I finished the dev edits for The Cash of the Damned, so Kate, that's my editor's name, she turns around to me and she's like, I say this respectfully. This chapter could be removed and your story would still be fine.
Oh,
The way the feedback was handled was perfect for me because she knew
right.
that I wanted honesty but not cruelty.
Yeah.
And I saw that. I was like, challenge accepted. I'm going to fix this chapter. Watch me go.
Fix
You're
it.
going
We're
to
gonna
love
keep
it.
it.
So, like, I basically rewrote the entire chapter based on
Yeah.
her feedback.
Don't beat around the bush. Just tell
Yes,
me what you want. Tell me how you want it, when you want it. Like tell me what you feel. You
exactly.
know, I think it's better, and it maintains relationships, you
Exactly.
know? So, yeah, I agree with you. But it's the same thing like everywhere. Like when you get feedback from your job, from your parents, you know, siblings can be harsh, but I, but they're great.
Yeah,
My sisters and I always laugh about that, but yeah, I agree with you. I think that that's great that she's, listen, this is what you need to do, and you attack it, and that's it.
I was
Hmm.
actually chatting a few months ago. I got a promotion at work, but our promotion works a little bit differently where you have to ask for it and then you kind of have to prove it. It doesn't
Okay.
just get like handed to you. So
Okay, okay.
anyway, I got it fine, and there's this one role. She's very high up. We like each other on a personal level, but in a business level, we cannot work together because she says the first thing that comes out of her mouth, which makes me fucking
Very
rage.
angry. You're right.
And
Yeah.
I put her on a, obviously it's respectful. It's always, I'm never
Right.
rude, but I'm
Yeah.
like, please don't say that. That has no place in this situation. So anyway, we're chatting about a new client and whatnot. And she says to me, I didn't want your promotion to go through. I looked at her and I said to her, how do you want me to respond to that? There is no
That's
nice
so rude.
way. Yeah, like there's no, and
So
I
rude.
called her out right there. I was like, you and I both know that's rude. You both know that's not going to add any value to the conversation.
That's
So can we
horrible.
actually just focus on this? No, I called it
Yeah.
out. I'm like, fuck that. I've worked far too
I,
hard to just take that.
I had a long conversation with my manager yesterday because apparently, I've shared it in my stories.
Yeah,
I share little bits of my frustration with my job,
yeah,
stuff like that. I'm a project manager during the day, so it gets a little bit hectic. So there's been tons of layoffs, and I
yeah,
told my manager, I'm like, I have to give you a deadline of me
yeah,
because this brain right here, it needs health,
yeah,
and this is not working. So came up with a plan. Hopefully it'll go into fruition in the next
yeah,
couple of weeks. So I totally get it. But
yeah.
some people, I know, I've had managers that told me literally, what do you want me to do with that problem?
Yeah.
Like, you really don't want to know what I think you could do with that problem, but okay. So, yeah, no, I totally get it. There are ways to say things, and that also correlates with what we do in the community as well. There are ways to say things. There are ways to express that you did not like a book,
Yeah.
There are ways to let people know, oh, you know what, you like it, but I don't.
Now that you bring that up, you just reminded me of something. I was just chatting to a reader this morning. She promotes an indie author every Saturday on her profile. It's very sweet. She doesn't have to, but like she goes out of her way.
Mm-hmm.
And she was agonizing in her stories about she's read a few arcs that are only like 3 stars for her. And she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't sure if she should post it to Instagram. She's obviously done the Goodreads and the Amazon.
Right.
And I said to her, well, what's your concern? And she's like, oh, isn't it rude? And I was like, listen, first of all, as an author, we kind of sign up to the journey knowing that that can come at some point. So that's
Mhm.
on us, that's not on you. The second part, you've already kind of said you're not going to tag authors in 3 stars. So I was like, perfect, that's great.
Right.
Like, what's the problem?
What's
I was
the
like,
issue?
yeah, and I was like, third of all, if as long as you're not being cruel and you're going, I didn't like the story for XYZ
Or
reason,
this is trash.
yeah, like as long as you're not cruel, like you're fine. And
Right.
and I actually said to her, I have some phenomenal 3 star reviews that have applied for arcs for the Clash of the Dam, and I'm probably going to give it to them because they weren't cruel
Right.
in the
Yeah.
previous round. And I said to her, as long as you're keeping those things in mind,
I
you
hate.
also need to remember that as a reader, what you don't like, I might like. So you might post like a 3 star review for this book for whatever reason. I might go in and be like, hey, I actually like those things. So let me go check that book out. And she's going to
Right.
go
Right.
post it now. So it was a great chat. But like,
No, that's great. I don't think that people should hold back in
yes,
saying what they feel about a book, especially if it's a 3 star.
yeah,
I don't I don't think a 3 star is horrible.
yeah,
There are just some elements of the book that probably did not connect with that reader.
yeah,
And reading is also subjective.
yeah,
A book that somebody loves, I might despise and
yeah,
probably in my home threw against the wall, which it did happen, but we're not going to go into that. I was so mad at a series and I'm
yeah.
like, I threw it like, yeah, I got physical with my book. Just because of that, it doesn't mean that I'm going to go and, oh, she's posting about this. I hate that book. It
Yeah.
was a disappointment. No, I would not do that because a lot of people feel a certain way about Throne of Glass. You know how I feel about Throne of Glass. I read Throne of Glass during a very dark time in my life. I probably didn't pay attention to, oh my God, her grammar's great, her this is that.
Yeah.
No, I fell in love with the story of resilience, and that was so great during this very, very dark moment in my life. And I hold that series so close to me. But some people hate it, and that's perfectly fine. So I've had situations where I post and person's like, oh, I didn't like that, or it's
Okay.
trashy, or oh, you're posting about that author. It's your account.
What's the old saying that our moms used to say to us? If you have nothing nice to say,
Then don't say anything at all.
yeah,
I can do without your comment. How about that?
yeah,
Like I really do believe that. And when it comes to like people posting reviews that are 3 stars and stuff like that, if they're respectful, why not? Like you said, maybe she didn't like it, but I'm gonna see it and I'm gonna be like, wait a minute, it has that and I like that in a book. And
exactly.
that'll open more opportunity not only for her reviews to get views, but also for the author to have opportunity of new readers. So like we can't always see it in a negative way, you guys. Like that's my problem. Don't always be negative.
Now that you brought Throne of Glass up, I do kind of want to lead into the trends that we're seeing in 2025 and beyond. I
Right?
know one of the most hot topics right now is when is Akatar 6 being announced? I know we've just had oh, maybe it's going to be today.
Maybe this, maybe that. Yeah, she's always so hush hush about her
So
stuff.
I want to know, do you have any predictions, any thoughts, or is she working on one of the other series? We're obviously talking about SJM. What are your
Right. I
thoughts on
heard that
this?
there's more of Throne of Glass and I am all for
Mm.
it. I heard that. Heard it that it is a possibility, but not necessarily like firm. But I'm gonna hold on to that and just say that we will see what Lorcan did or will continue to do because he's my favorite. But yeah, no, I honestly I have not read the third book of the her Crescent City series. I know a lot of people love it. Tony read
I
them.
will I will reserve comment. Let's just go with that because
Tony read them, and Tony has read all of he read Throne of Glass because it's my favorite.
yeah,
He read Akatar because he liked how SJM's Throne of Glass,
yeah.
and then he read Crescent City, and that's his favorite. So he kind of steers more into that urban fantasy type of thing. So he has been stressing me out to read the third book so
Yeah.
we can do a reel
Discussion.
together. a discussion together because he's like obsessed with it. He loves Bryce. Bryce is like his fantasy dream woman. Okay.
So I'm reserving my comments about Crescent City because you haven't read the third book, and I
I
don't
have
want to
not.
spoil anything. So
I have not. I told him, I promise you, I will read it in the summer, and then we can talk about it. But yeah, he's obsessed with it.
In the meantime, if Tony wants to talk about it with me, he is more than welcome to
I
because
will let him know
I have thoughts.
because he was obsessed when we had our wedding and Jordan was there. Jordan, of course, read it, right?
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, if I have time, I need to ask Jordan what she thinks about this. But you know how crazy the wedding is
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff like that. And we only got to
yeah,
see each other for a little bit. So,
yeah.
but it was so funny that Tony stopped reading for so many years. And I cannot believe that Throne of Glass was the one that kind of just hooked him. And then now he's read Shadow and Bone. He's
Yeah.
got thoughts about that. He's read what is his name? Grady Hendrix, the one with that's kind of like a horror,
Yeah.
pushing towards horror.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's never late to start reading. That's one of the things that I always tell people, oh, I just started. I don't know if I can read this book because it looks so dense. It's never late to start.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
We're seeing the, I almost want to say the traditional side of publishing coming a
Yes.
lot into the indie space where they're picking up a lot of indie novels that have been
I've
previously
noticed.
published. Quicksilver is probably a great example for that. I know Penn Cole with her Kinder Curse saga as well.
I enjoyed that series. I read it. Penn Cole worked with us with Torgals when she was indie, and I loved it.
I
It was great.
inhaled that series. I was like, purchase next one, purchase next one. I actually said to you,
It was
don't
so
talk to me,
great.
go away.
Yeah, don't bother me. I'm reading.
And I mean, I know you romantic girlies love your slow burn, but I was just like, can they get it on already?
Oh, I posted that in my what was it? Did I post a reel? Did you? I think you commented like, yes, because like I like my slow burn and that little teasy part, but dude, when are you gonna do something?
Yeah.
Like, hurry up. Like, it's enough. If it's enough of the slow burn now, let's go.
Yeah.
Move it along.
Why do you think the traditional publishers are coming so much to the indie space to kind of shop around? Carissa Broadbent is another one. Her Daughter of No World series just got picked up.
I love her series.
Yeah.
The vampire series. Like, I love it so much. If you guys haven't read it.
I can see the
Carissa
cover in my head.
Right?
Yes,
yeah, that's what you said, right?
Yes, I can see the cover with the blue and the silver. I love the name. I can see it.
I can't remember the name.
So,
I can't. I'll text you.
No.
I inhaled
the
first book.
Serpent of Night and Wings. That one.
Yes, I inhaled it. And the novella is also good. I inhaled that one. I still haven't read the second book. I think she's on her third book now. I don't remember.
I think so too, yeah.
But sometimes my reading schedule, because of my collabs and stuff like that, sometimes I just get behind on the newer books. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I have a feeling that there's so much hidden talent. Not to say that traditional authors are not talented, because there's so many traditional authors I love. But I feel like there's so much hidden talent that Bookstagram, along with Book Talk, have made it possible for so many of those indie authors to just rise up and go viral, as you said in the beginning. And then it catches this, traditional publisher's eye. And that's when you're like, oh, wow, who is this person? And then they revamp the covers. And then you're like, damn it, I only got 2 covers and that pisses me off. But that's off topic.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's great for them. A lot of people that deserve to be picked up should. But then at the same time, I feel like it's like a balance, because sometimes indie authors like to stay indie because they have all control of their stuff. So I guess it really depends on which way you want to go. What is your goal overall? If that's the goal of that author, then great. I'm still gonna support indie whether they get picked up or not. I don't know. I guess that's also the word of today is subjective.
Yeah.
That is also subjective. Yeah, I think it's a good thing if they want it. If they don't, then that's PA for an author for a while that felt that way. She was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Vanessa, I will not. They offered to help me like edit or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, I'm not giving away my rights. I'm not." And I get it. There are so many horror stories too that you have to like think about when it comes to that. It's your work, your livelihood. Like you brought it from scratch up. Like I can understand. It's like me tell somebody telling me, "Oh, I'll take the pictures for you." No, thank you.
And
With
I
all due
think
respect.
it's to be quite, I almost want to say blunt. It's my
Right.
money to throw away,
Right.
no one
Yeah.
else's. So if I want to print absolute horseshit in a book, that is
Yeah.
my prerogative. I mean, I'm
No, for
not, but
sure. No,
I'm
no,
not
no.
gonna
I
have
get
someone
what you're
else dictating
saying.
that to me.
No, and if you want the design to be, I don't know, purple and green, you're gonna go,
Yeah,
you do what you want.
exactly.
So I understand authors that want to stay in that indie space and be known for being successful in that indie space. And that's great.
It literally takes a village to make an author successful, and we rely a lot on the, I don't want to say regular because that takes away from their power in my mind. But we want to look
Okay.
at the standard Bookstagram reader accounts,
Mhm.
and we see a lot of the bigger accounts, the 100K plus getting a lot of the attention, where I was, what I say, the smaller accounts get overlooked. If you
Yeah.
could give one word of advice to anyone looking to start their Bookstagram journey or looking to up their Bookstagram journey, what would you tell them?
When it comes to opening an account, well, of course, get a name that I guess kind of helps you identify yourself. Well, there's a lot of times where people are like, oh, I didn't like this name. Like me, I'm trying to change my name, whatever.
Yeah,
But overall, I think that when a person starts their Bookstagram, the first thing that they need to do is either join some type of broadcast or join like a little chat. You find your people as you go.
yeah,
I've had people go into my DMs and say, "Oh, I love your pictures. How do I do it? Like, where do I get arcs? How do I do this?" A lot of times even the publisher or the author will share in their account how to get arcs. Not that it means that I'm not going to help them, right? But when it comes to pictures, you don't need to spend a lot of money. A lot of times when I first started, I would spend on this prep and this prep and this prep. No, 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 it doesn't. You don't need that. You can just take the book, put it on the bed, and take a picture of it and put a teddy bear beside it, and you're fine. I think that the main thing is kindness. I always say that, like, just talk, engage, like, go into a person's picture and say, "Oh, I read that," or that's how I started. Like, I would talk to people. I would watch people's stories and I would engage with them. I think engaging is your main thing to find your genuine group and to grow genuinely. Years ago, we had that shout out for shout out thing. I jumped on that train and it was like, oh my God, so overwhelming. Yeah, we grew, but really were we growing to know people that, of course I don't know all of my followers because not a lot of people make themselves known. But whenever I can, I go and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I was telling you earlier. I would chat with them, right?
yeah. So true what you say though about the engagement part, because I do sometimes think that we forget about that, because we're so pushed for likes and
Yeah,
shares, and I get it. Help, I
yeah,
need those as well, just like the next person. If we look at the core of what a social media account is, and it doesn't just have to be Instagram, it's how
yeah.
are we engaging and building those connections. One of my favorite examples, she was part of my ARC team for the Rule of the Dash. She has become one of my closest friends
That's
because
awesome.
because
Yeah.
from that we started talking, and now we talk regularly, and she was a guest on the podcast episode as well.
And one thing I tell people, don't focus on the numbers. I know it's hard to say, and I would be a hypocrite to say that I didn't focus on the numbers at a certain
Mhm.
point because you start comparing yourself with other people. Her lighting is better than mine, or wow, I have that mirror, but why did she take that mirror also and put focus on yourself. Yeah, don't I people tell me, how were your insights today or stuff like that. The one person that I will sometimes go to is Tony, and I'll tell
Yeah.
him, damn it, this stupid thing, I thought it was going to go well, but it's because I felt like it was a funny reel and it was going to go super well. I think that that's why, but don't focus on like, oh my God, today I have 35,000. Damn it, tomorrow I have 34,999. That,
Yeah.
like, it is such a, oh my God, it's so hard on your mental health. And I've been there that I had to take a step back and acknowledge that my presence on Bookstagram is because it makes me happy and because I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, which is creation. I love photography. I love talking to other readers. And yeah, of course, my services because I have a goal for myself, right? So, but don't, yeah, that's my advice.
That's a perfect entryway into a discussion about inclusivity. I know that is something that is
Yes,
particularly close to your heart,
yes.
but we've seen the bookstagram community. I almost want to say demand more representation, and
Okay,
representation could be your sexual identity,
right,
cultural,
mhm,
neurodiversity. I'd love to hear from you. What can
right.
authors do more of to make more inclusive characters, or what would you like to see?
I think that first and foremost, educating themselves is very important. I always tell people, although I have a degree in education, I'm not here to educate you.
Yeah,
I think if we take it upon ourselves to learn, and if, yeah, you need something clarified, of course I'll help you understand it, but you have to take initiative in that
yeah,
sense, right? So, in order for people to be seen, as we use today,
yeah.
right, we need to share instances in our books or whatever it may be. Include, like when I was doing those author spotlights that
Yes, you
I
could
did
recommend.
last year,
Yeah.
I that was one of the things that I wanted to include in my space.
Hmm.
So I would do either LGBTQ or I would do, okay, this person is BIPOC, oh, this person is Latina. As a Latina growing up, it was very hard to find a book that had a brown girl like me. So seeing that this is it's so colorful and inclusive now that my daughter has the opportunity to read a book as as a Latina, and she's also queer. So I feel like it is so great that she has that representation for her,
Yeah.
because growing up in the book I would say, okay, well, this girl is blonde and blue eyes, not that there's anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
but as a 13-year-old I'm like, why can't there be somebody like me?
I'll give you just it's maybe a bit of a silly example. So I know
Hmm.
it doesn't come across on camera, but I'm really tall. I wouldn't say freakishly tall, but if you look at the girls I went to school with who were
They're
like
all
the size
shorter
of
than
my,
you.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they were like the size of my left thigh. And I went to a boarding school. I just need to, so South African sizes are the same as the States sizes. So I'm a size 9.5 shoe, just to give you a reference of like
Okay.
height and foot.
Hmm.
And all my girlfriends at boarding school, because I went to an all girls boarding school, would be
Okay.
swapping clothes. And here's me, 13-year-old, shopping in the
Tall.
women's department because I can't buy
Right.
teenagers clothes. Something as simple as that, where I just see the example you use, the blonde petite archetype, where
Yeah.
I'm like, where do I fit into this? Because I don't.
Hmm.
Now I look at least the characters that we're seeing where I'm like, oh, wait, she looks like me. Ashley Graham, the famous model, she's my favorite example.
Oh, I love her. Yes.
Where I'm
Yeah.
just like, for me, being a teenager would have been so different if I had her to look up to.
I agree with
Where
you.
it's not about preaching body positivity, it's more about loving who you are, which I think
Loving
is a
who
bit
you
of a
are.
different thing.
I had a very tough time growing up. I don't talk about it a lot, but
Yeah.
I do. Anytime I see curvy rep, fat rep, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know how they
Hmm.
call it nowadays because I'm old. So I try to stay with the trends, you guys.
Yeah.
So if I said it
Yeah.
wrong, I apologize.
Yeah.
But growing up and seeing that my friends were, I'm short. I'm like
Hmm.
5'2" in the US,
Hmm.
but I tend to be the curvy, chubby girl. Growing up and just reading about like these people that were not like me, and then you look around and you're like, oh my God, all these girls are like the ones in the book.
Yeah.
When I first read a book with a body rep,
Yeah.
I was so emotional. I wish I would have had this when I was a young girl, and I wouldn't have chosen paths that I chose at that time in order to stay in the trend of being fit. And the fact that my daughter has that in her life, I'm just so grateful for whoever started all of these representations, because now I'm like, oh my God, it's about a chubby girl. I want to read it. Because here I am, a chubby girl, but my husband is 6'4", know, athletic type. And when I see that in a cover, I'm like, oh my God, it's like Tony and me. So I think that it's really important, not only for us older people to see that things have evolved, but also for the younger generation to understand that it's okay to be who you are. You know, like you said, I'm tall and I didn't fit in and stuff like that, or just because you're chubby or whatever it is, doesn't mean that you don't have a value
Yeah.
in this world.
So, B, ask everyone this question. What is
Uh-oh.
your bookish hot take? Dun-dun-dun.
Dang it. I was like, what do I put on this without being controversial?
I've got some controversial ones, by the way, so you'll be fine
Have
if you
you
don't.
really?
Yeah, I have.
Oh man. What is my hot take? Dude, I can I say what series I don't like? I
You
don't
can
want
say
people to
whatever you
hate
want.
me.
This is
Oh,
my
well, that's what's
podcast.
up because I like to sometimes I don't when I'm like in public with my family, I really don't think before I speak. So I am not a fan of the Cruel Prince series. One I threw against the wall. Kiara, if you're looking at this podcast, don't hate me. I love you. And you know what? And if people love it, but look, it's great. It works for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I just maybe I maybe because of my age, maybe I just felt like it was just I don't want to you haven't read it, so I don't want to give out too much. And I know that there's a lot of people that are looking forward to reading it. And this is not to say don't read it,
Yeah.
because if I read all three books, that means that I liked something about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the ending killed me. Yeah, that's my hot take.
Come on. Like, not now.
Yeah,
What do the Brits say? You're having a laugh.
some books are not going to connect with us, and
Yeah.
that's totally. I see it, and people are like, "Oh my God, I loved the Jude, and I loved Carden," and I'm like, "No, I can't." Like, I'm like, "What do you see?" Like sometimes I'm like, "Okay, what do you see in order to make me change my opinion?" Because I'm not going to be here. Oh, screw that. I hated it. I'm not going to talk about it. No, I really want to talk about it. I was telling
Yeah.
Kiara about it too. I was like, you know what? Sometimes I feel like rereading it. Maybe I
Yeah.
read it at the wrong time.
The Coven.
I loved it. I loved it.
When I saw she is
Loved it.
releasing another book in that series in
Is she really?
October,
I didn't know that.
yes, I know. I had the same reaction.
I
Surprise!
didn't know that. Oh,
Yes,
yes. Wow.
yeah. For me, that kind of spooky, gothic, incredible world
I
building
don't know.
with
I
the
just thought it was
ritual.
like that
Yes,
eerie sense,
yes,
I loved it. I really did. I enjoyed it a lot. And I
yeah.
read her other one too, but I really like The Coven more. I like
Oh,
The Coven.
like
It was great.
I need authors to write like more witchy academias, please. Like,
Oh,
who is your author by author or authors?
aside from SJM, because I think everybody kind of
Yeah,
connects me to that. I'm gonna say Tilly. SJ
yeah,
Tilly is one of them for
yeah,
indie authors.
yeah.
Uh, God, who else? I don't know. Oh, I love some of Schwab's work. I have
Okay.
some, but there's a lot of indie authors.
You really
I
do
read a lot
clip
of
your knife.
indie
Yeah.
to the point where I haven't been able to catch up on some of my like authors that I've wanted to read, like Lee Bardugo or those famous, like the really, really known ones. A lot of times I just go with the flow. I'm a big mood reader unless I have like a schedule for my collabs, which a lot of
Yeah.
times it does take up my reading time, which is why I'm so behind on my own personal reads. But yeah, I try to give everything a chance.
I will tell you, as much as we love the support that indies get, I still read like traditionally published authors as well. I'm still
Yeah,
a fan.
yeah.
There's two books specifically that I actually commented on both authors' accounts. Just take my money. And I forgot her surname. It's a Kate, and it was actually Jordan that told me about her. She releases in Feb next year. A demon hunting school. I was like, I don't even know what the blurb is. Don't care.
What?
I'm already sold on that. That just demon hunting
Well, when you
school.
find that name, you go ahead and DM it to me. Yeah, yeah, I think that it just I don't know if I have like wow, this auto by author, right? Because I also read thrillers, so Frida
Yeah,
McFadden, that's big on my list. Like I have
yeah,
like most of her books. I love her books.
yeah.
Um
So another traditionally published author that I am counting down the clock because it comes out soon. Blood Moon by Brittany S. Lewis. Her concept is it's the Bonnie Bennett's revenge. Because
Stop.
I know that. There we go. That was my reaction. I was like, "Tell me more." And then she posts about how Bonnie Bennett was supposed to have a relationship
Yeah.
with David Salvatore, and she wrote this book to give Bonnie Bennett. That I was like, just take my money, please.
Wait, what is the name?
Brittany S. Lewis.
I'm writing this
Yeah,
down as we speak because my kid sister is
yeah,
obsessed with Vampire Diaries, just like I
yeah,
am with Supernatural and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And when I tell her about this, she'll be like, take my money
yeah.
right now. But I need to read it because, yeah.
I need to read it. I'm already like, and it was so funny because she posted the clip once of the Vampire Diaries, of when Bonnie runs and like jumps on Damon, and I was like, I can already tell you they just got back from the prison world. They were reunited. I was like, I know exactly what scene you're talking about, and I was like, are they
I
in a
know exactly what
relationship?
scene you're talking about. I think that was one of the highlights of that series.
Yeah,
Honestly, their relationship, like their bond,
yeah,
because she hated him and it
yeah.
was great. I love Vampire Diaries. I'm a sucker for,
Yeah.
supernatural series,
Oh God.
like with vampires and stuff like that. I just finished my rewatch on Buffy for like God knows what time. What number is this?
We don't count. We don't
We
judge.
don't count anymore. Comfort shows are it.
I do have to ask though, V, before we do wrap up this episode, what
Hmm.
can we expect to see next from you in the bookish space? You kind of gave us a hint at the beginning.
I am planning to, well, I did introduce my content creation and stuff like that. I've been working more with author budgets instead of having like a straight dollar amount, which is really important. I want to be able to help indies, I want to be able to help brands and stuff like that. So that's one of the things I am working on launching my website finally, like with testimonials, with um, examples of my work. So that's really important to me. And Tony and I are working on a podcast. I'm hopeful that maybe by end of year, beginning of next year, that's kind of like in the works. I have to get all that stuff, all that good stuff to sound correctly.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I'm gonna continue to do what I do, continue to support my friends and the bookish community as best as I can. I want to expand a little bit out of my niche when it comes to not just sharing books. I want to be able to show more of my side, like more of what is Vanessa, what is V. When it comes to go on the weekends, I go and I to the bookstore, or here we go, let's go shopping, things like that. I have a notebook with ideas.
yeah,
And yeah, oh, and I'm excited for Vixens and Villains. I know
yeah.
there's going to be a lot of authors there. I'm going to be there. So excited for that as well. I think that's kind of in a nutshell. My brain just goes 100 miles per hour and I start typing in my notes, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Let me put that down. So yeah.
This episode has been great in the sense of we're able to showcase a lot more of your personality on a
Yeah.
broader
I
scale
thank you so
because
much. This has been so fun.
no, but like you're an absolute no-brainer because I think some of the relationships that I built at the beginning, which has been
Yeah.
it's been about 2.5 years now.
I think so. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we've
like
kind of chit-chatted. Yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, for about,
it
yeah, that much.
there was a list of people where I'm like, you guys have done so much, not just for me, but for other authors, and I'm like, now it's your turn
Mm-hmm.
to kind of be spotlighted and actually be
Yeah.
celebrated because we wouldn't be here without people like
Oh,
you
that's so
and
sweet.
like
Yeah.
Jordan helping us, guiding us. I mean, she's talked me off the ledge
She's
multiple times.
amazing. Yeah, no, she talks me off the ledge all the
Yeah,
time. She's
she
like,
does
"V,
that.
relax."
Yeah,
I love her so much. She's one of
yeah,
I say this and we can all throw out there that, we have best friends and all that stuff, but
yeah,
Jordan is like literally one of my closest friends.
yeah,
She's amazing. Like you said, we try our best to support authors in the best way. Like book club that I have with Kiara and Maria,
yeah,
we try to showcase indie authors. We specifically tailored it just for indie authors. And we create that chat for that, for a particular book. Oh my God, I have to pre-order the second one, which
yeah.
makes us feel like our job is done. Like perfect.
I'm not gonna
So
lie. When one of my listeners ordered book 1 and 2 of one of the previous guests because of the episode.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I converted a book sale for an author. Yes.
Be nice, be kind, don't leave negative reviews, don't fucking tag the author. I hate that. Don't do that.
Amen.
Don't do it. You know, if you have something not nice to say, then don't say it at all.
I'm going to assume that if someone wants to connect with you, the best place to do that would be Instagram.
Yeah, they can either DM me or they can email me. I also have the link in my bio goes to my link tree, and it has different forms for whatever it needs to cater to. But if you're unsure, just DM me. I'm always, available. Might take me a little bit based on my schedule, but yeah, I will respond.
A lot of people don't realize I was in theatre school for about 13-ish years. And obviously I didn't go into theatre, but I almost want to say it's taught me how to speak to people, how to adapt, how to read the room,
Right.
how to be engaging, how to pull back. And my mom still jokes with me that it's something that served me really well in business. It was actually the best investment she ever made in me.
Right. Yeah.
Because I apply a lot of the theatre school principles to my
Into
day-to-day
your
life.
to your daily. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think what helped me was being part of so many client interactions.
Yeah.
I started
It is.
at 20. I started
Yeah.
at like 19 in the corporate world,
Yeah.
and
Same.
going through all those stages and having senior VPs taking me to these client meetings, you kind of learn, like, don't say that, Vanessa, but be careful, but also be nice, be welcoming. I hear you.
Bea, I hope you have an incredible Saturday. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait for
Yes.
everyone to just see this episode.
Thank you for having me, and I absolutely loved joining. This was so fun.
We will chat soon.
All right, I'll talk to
Cool.
you later.
Bye.
Okay, bye.